Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So we've got a review for you today on a Wltoys V212 6-axis gyro quadcopter. This is actually an upgraded version from the Wltoys V949, which is 4-axis. Anyway, so to get things rolling, what you're going to get in the box is going to be your radio, your quadcopter of course, a power supply to charge the battery. You should get an adapter. I did, and I have gotten adapters with many RCs that I've bought from Banggood that normally have this European type plug. So this is your converter to go to US and Canadian. Of course, you're also going to get 4 extra blades. You will get a manual that's in both English as well as Chinese. One thing they did do on here is I think there's a misprint on my manual anyways. It says 4-axis, but it is actually 6-axis. And you will also get a 1-cell battery that I believe, yes, it is 500 milliamps. And it'll be a good starter battery. You can also get replacement batteries in the 500 milliamp, as well as there are 600 milliamp upgrade batteries too that you can purchase. And one difference you will find is on the upgrade batteries, they don't have this plastic locking piece where it keeps everything balanced for the quad. So you gotta kind of balance it out yourself, but otherwise just get the replacements. You get a good 10 minutes of flight time anyhow. Recharge time is about 40 to 50 minutes, depending on how depleted the battery is. If you run the quad until it shuts down, pretty much, then yeah, you're looking at a good 50-minute recharge time. Anyhow, you've got lighting built into this quad already, so no extra lights to buy. Like a lot of these quads will have no lighting. This has it already installed for you from the factory. Also, you've got this extended landing gear, which I find is really, really nice. Especially when you're flying outdoors, even in the winter time, because you can still fly these in the winter as long as you're careful, because you don't want to get them wet or full of snow. Otherwise, yep, you're going to have some electrical problems, right? But this will keep it high enough off the ground that your rotors underneath are not going to touch. So it is a nice kind of an advantage that way. I also find it looks pretty styling while it's flying. It looks more like a drone really with the landing gear down than anything, even though it's a quadcopter that can get up and boogie and it can do flips, that sort of jazz. Now on the radio here, you've got your typical controls for banking left, banking right, forward, backwards, your throttle, and your pirouette move. So your pirouetting is, of course, this sort of thing. It's on your throttle stick. You have digital trim controls, and the radio does hold a memory. So whatever you trim the quad out to get it stabilized for hovering, every time you turn it off, turn it back on, your settings are there already, which is great. There are some of the radios from WLs that don't do that. This does. Now this also has cyclic control, and what that's going to allow you to do is go from more docile to really super crazy. And generally you would want to run this for regular full flighting at the 60% level, because when you're at 100% cyclics, it kicks you into flip mode, which is continuous. You'll have to disengage it yourself to get out of it, which is something I found anyways. But 20, 40, and 60%, those are your main levels, and at 60% this thing can actually stand up pretty much about like this and just really go really nice. So it's got some good speed to it. Range on this thing is 100 to 150 meters, so a little over 300 to just over 450 feet. So very exceptional range on it. And I have not maxed out the range on it by any means, so I've flown it within reason because, you know, the further away you get, the smaller it's going to get, right? So you got to keep it so you can still visually fly, right? Great night flyer too with the lighting, gives you really good orientation. So I'm going to fire this thing up for you because this thing is really cool when it does light up, as you'll see. And to bind this thing, you're going to want to plug it in first. And then turn your radio on. Make sure your throttle's off. Throttle up and then down. And it's bound. One thing that I said was really cool about this is your lights on the bottom flash, right? And so it gives you really good orientation. We're up there flashing, and they're a multicolor here. So you're going to know exactly where you are. And your front is solid red, so orientation at night is going to be really bonus. So it's not all one color, you know, it's not red here and then, you know, blue here. It's flashing, which looks really awesome. And we're going to fire this up just a little bit. I'm not going to fly it in here, but just give you an idea what it sounds like motor-wise. That's full throttle. It's not overly noisy, but it's not completely quiet either. You know, and the quad is, you know, fairly new. It hasn't had a lot of flights on it yet, so things are still breaking into. Full ball bearings all the way around, which is really nice. Way better than oilette bushings. Those things can go oblong, wear out. They're a maintenance thing. The ball bearings, they're going to last you a long, long time. Now underneath, of course, you do have plastic main drive gears, but you do have brass pinions on the motors, which is going to give you pretty good durability overall. The mesh is really good between the gear teeth, so you don't have to worry about, you know, prematurely wearing out teeth. So they are going to be durable for a long, long time. And I like the idea of the brass pinions because they're not going to come off the motors. Plastic pinions against plastic main gears, friction causes heat and eventually they just pop, right? You won't have that problem with this quad with the metal pinions on there. What I found as far as quality and workmanship goes, seems to be really solid quadcopter. You do have carbon rods here on all your motors, and they are inexpensive. All the parts are very inexpensive to replace on this, so should you have some nasty crashes, parts are cheap, so you can keep this thing going for a long, long time. Now the one thing I did notice about the landing gear system, even though it is nice and it looks to be pretty durable, it's not going to take any severe hard crashes, like not too many of them. It'll take a few, but it's not going to take too many, just by looking at the way it's put together here. And of course, it's a stiff plastic too, and so in cold weather flying, you're going to want to come down gently. You're not going to want to crash into hard objects in the colder weather, or you're going to snap the landing gear really easy. But at least until you get a replacement set of landing gear in, you can just unbolt this, and then it turns basically into your standard quad with your regular feet that you would have on most other quads as you've seen. Okay, so at least you're not without using it while you're waiting for a new set of landing gear. Now, I know some of you are going to ask the question, can I put a camera on this thing? Yes, you can mount a camera on it. I've done a little bit of research on that myself, and some people have been using a Mobius cam, and there are other smaller, lighter weight cameras that you can get to put underneath this thing and shoot some FPV stuff. But it doesn't come with a camera, and it doesn't technically support access to a camera from the radio to turn one on and off, so that feature is not there. But you can certainly use like keychain cameras, and like I said, the Mobius, a few people I've seen use Mobius cameras even on quads like this in this size category, so it's not a big deal. So anyways, we do have flight footage for you for some outdoor flying, daytime shots right now. There will be a follow-up review on this as far as a final thoughts thing, but my review itself for the score won't change. It'll just be a total final, how is it in the summertime, and how high have I gotten it up, that sort of stuff, and give you some more better flying experience. But for now, the test video footage is just a bit of outdoor flying, just to show you how the quad is, how things handle. Now the wind that we had to deal with this was between 15 kilometers an hour with 30 kilometer an hour gusts. Our temperature outside was about -7 with a -15 wind chill. So it was a little nippy, you know, not too bad. And there were no problems with the motors, no problems with any of the quad. It flew great. Now as far as the trims go, for flying it outdoors, I didn't adjust any trims. I trimmed this by just hovering it in the house, trimmed it up in the house, and that's where my settings are going to stay even for any outdoor flying, because at least this way I know it's already trimmed right. Because the thing is, this is also a little bit bigger than your typical nano quads too, so it is designed more for bigger indoor spaces, as well as definitely outdoor for sure. You can have a hoot with this thing outdoors. But whatever trim settings you do set it in for indoor flying, you will use those same settings outdoors regardless of wind. You know, so if it's a very, very calm, super calm day for wind, you should be able to hover without too much difficulty with very little sway. But the wind is going to push this thing a little bit, you know, so you're not going to get a steady hover in 15-kilometer-an-hour winds with 30-kilometer gusts. It is not going to stay put like that. But in the indoors, certainly it will be very stable with very minimal drift. The 6-axis gyro is nice. It kicks in beautiful. Now, for those of you who don't know the difference between 6-axis and 4-axis gyros, a lot of the older generation quads, and still being produced today, that have 4-axis gyro, what happens is when you're going forward, backwards, left or right, either one of these, okay, let's say you're going forward and you let go of the stick, or you're going sideways, let go of the stick. Whatever direction you're going, you still keep going in, okay? It's not going to recover and stop. You're going to have to actually recorrect. Now, with this machine having a 6-axis gyro, doesn't matter what direction you're going, you let go of the sticks and it snaps right back. It's not an instantaneous. There's a slight bit of a lag, which isn't too bad, okay? But I mean, it is a little bit bigger quad than a smaller thing like a Hubs X4 or a N7 Gentrude or one of the CX10s. Those things are smaller quads and they can recover like that quick, like instant. This is not quite instant. There's just a minimal small amount of drag, but not too bad, and it will self-correct when you let go of the stick. So you're not going to keep going forward, you know, and have to self-correct. That doesn't happen. So you're all good to rock there. So anyways, there's a final score rating on this thing. I'm going to put this thing right around I would say a really good 4 out of 5 anyways. And I feel that definitely is fair for this. I mean, it is ball bearing, so it's going to have long life in it. For even your motor shafts, you know, they're not going to be wobbling against oil light bushings as things wear, you know, so you got the ball bearings in there, uppers and lowers, and you'll be fine, right? So you got good durability and long life there, good balancing as well. Oil light bushings don't balance well. These ball bearings, everything stays balanced really, really well, so things will track properly. The lights are definitely a cool bonus. Those I like, and they can also turn on and off through the radio. Okay, and I know I didn't show you that, so give me a quick second and I'll just plug this back in. Again, you plug the quad in first, throttle down, and there you go. Off, on. And then when you want to go through your different cyclics, that's all done from the other button here. Okay, and when you're at 100%, you'll hear this beeping. That means you're ready to flip. So whichever direction you put the stick in, it's going to do a flip roll thing, right? And then when you're done playing with that, click it back, and it'll default back to 20%. So if you need a little bit more than 20%, which is super docile, click it to 40 or to 60, and away you go, and rock and roll. So, as far as what I consider to be some drawbacks to this thing, well, number one, you guys all know it ain't perfect, right? It is pretty durable, I'll give it that. The build quality is there. The carbon rods are good and strong. I mean, it's going to take some crashes. It's not a bad thing here. It's good. It's got some good durability. The landing gear is the only thing I'd be really concerned about as far as any kind of hard crashes go. That does seem to have a potential to it could break on you, you know, and be aware of that. In the summertime, it's going to be a little bit more pliable in the warm temperatures flying, so it's going to be more crash resistant for the landing gear, definitely in the summer. But this time of year, at least for me in Canada, it's still winter here, and even in -15 wind chill, you know, that's a little snappy cold, so you got to bring her down gentle, right? And you got a 10-minute flight time. And that's based basically on your average 20 degrees, 25 degrees, 30-degree weather. You're going to get about 10 minutes outdoors, right? And so in wintertime, you're looking at probably closer about 7 to 10 minutes because it's going to be affected by cold. You know, it's not so much the battery that'll be the problem. It's going to end up being that the motors are going to have to work that much harder, right? So that's going to cut down your flight time a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, good to go. And that's where I feel it's going to be. Now, this quad selling price on Banggood's website, you're looking at around 58, I think it was about 58 or 59 bucks Canadian. So pick whatever currency you're in for your country. In US, of course, you'll be a few dollars cheaper, right? But that's the going rate Canadian price, and that's where I quote my prices generally whenever I do any kind of review, because I live in Canada. So anyways, that's pretty much about it. And like I said, that's our final scores, 4 out of 5, and I think that's more than fair for this machine. And so check out the flight footage. Let me know what you guys think, and definitely stay tuned for more on this quad and our final thoughts and review closer into probably very late spring, early summer, when temps are really warm outside and I can really give this thing a good, really good fair outdoor flight for day and nighttime flying, show you what it's like during the night. But my score will not change. It's still going to be the same, 4 out of 5, so just be aware of that. But it will be a final summary anyways of how I think of it, even for the nighttime stuff outdoors. So thanks for watching, and enjoy the flight footage.